and it's just phony. It's a phony. It's quackery, harkening back to the 19th century.
But
so we and some others have sued the company that makes it, and recently reached a settlement that hopefully will reimburse.
Which made a lot of news.
Made quite a bit of news, and will reimburse people, some of the customers, certainly not all of them.
But do you think there's a place for Airborne and products like Airborne?
In the garbage dump.
Well,
yeah, I mean, it's phony. There's not a shred of scientific evidence that it works.
But we take multivitamins.
They don't have those claims. I suppose if Airborne...
Okay, but if Airborne changed its claims?
If they just called it Airborne with no claims, then it's fine, like multivitamins.
Well, multivitamins have claims. You know. Do you take vitamins?
Occasionally.
But you're not...
no, I rely on my food to do it.
You think, you know, not everybody agrees that food alone is enough. You know, a lot of doctors say we need...
Food is pretty good. I take...
you like food.
You know, fruits and vegetables, you know, they're loaded.
Because somebody called you the head of the food and beverage police, so it's...
we also look at dietary supplements.
Right.
But I'll tell you, you know, the Airborne issue is interesting. A couple of years ago, we hired a litigator. Now we have 2 litigators. And it's been very effective. And we meet with companies. They really take us seriously now. Whereas before, they just, you know, kind of brush us off.
But isn't that as much because of the public than anything? That they take you more seriously? Because people take the whole issue of what they're eating more seriously.
They do. And I think, you know, if you look at the big picture, how things have changed since you worked for Charlie Rose.
Right.
So many more people are concerned about food and nutrition. The you know, Whole Foods phenomenon of supermarkets devoted to healthier foods.
Supermarkets have...
And Joynt and Wegmans and so on. You can get healthier food
Who stepped up
now.
more, restaurants or markets?
I think what's been happening is a broadening on both sides. You know, we have maybe more junk than we ever did before in supermarkets, but also you can get brown rice and, you know, lots of other healthy foods.
Whole wheat and all kinds of organics.
And restaurants, we did a lot of work on fast foods in the 1980s. And the foods were loaded with salt and calories and saturated fat.
I remember you coming to a studio once with a vial.
That's right. We had our graduated cylinders of Crisco showing how much fat there was in all these fast food meals.
I think that was my last fast food hamburger.
And then after we were doing this for probably 3 years, somebody, a vice president at one of the fast food companies said, you know, if you think our stuff is bad, you should go to the table service restaurants. And beginning in 1993, we did. You may remember our first study was of Chinese restaurants, and then we did Mexican restaurants and Italian and movie theater popcorn.
Yeah, well, these were on my radar, yeah.
And these foods were far worse than any fast food meal because the serving sizes were so huge. Just enormous amounts of you know, more salt than you should eat in an entire day. At Italian restaurants, fettuccine Alfredo, the average one had...
The good one.
Famous last words.
Well, no, I mean...
2 or 3 times as much saturated fat as you should have in an entire day.
Okay, but this is a good point, I think. Don't you think that there are foods that we really love, like a fettuccine Alfredo, that if you don't make it with anything fake, if you make it with real things, it's going to be better for you than if you go and buy, say, the packaged Alfredo that's all powder that you mix with stuff, and restaurants do this too, to make your, you know, your Alfredo sauce that's not really out of anything.
Well, it's got to be out of something,
but
right?
But
you remember Airborne?
A lot of it's man-made. You know, it's not coming.
Well, there's taste and then there's health.
Yeah.
And when you have something loaded with cream and cheese, it's just not healthy.
If you don't eat it every day.
Well, yeah, you can eat it once a year. You know, once in a while.
Once a year.
And I think no, but seriously, anything you could eat anything once in a while.
I think what people want is that I think people are so attuned to what you're saying more than they used to be. I mean, I think that it's on their radar. They just want to have something, you know.
They just want to come to Nathan's once in a while.
Well, it's not about Nathan's, but thank you. No, but I mean, it's about, there's a part of your message that's moderation too, don't you think?
Absolutely, and seriously, we often say that you can eat a hot dog or a steak or a fettuccine Alfredo.
Still make a diet of it.
That's right. The trouble with many people is that they have one of Denny's Grand Slam breakfasts.
Yeah, every
and
day.
then they go to Burger King and have this, and then they go to a fancy restaurant.
And that is a really important cultural point. In some cases, it's economic, but not all cases. Some, it's just habitual. That's what a lot of people, that's how they're raised. You know, I mean, don't you think the problem begins with the kids?
That's right.
They sit around on Saturday morning and see all the ads that say you got to get mom and dad to get you the sugar-loaded breakfast.
Yeah, and their parents didn't learn how to cook.
And they go to the schools, and to keep the food affordable, the schools just buy, you know, we don't even need to go there.
Low quality.
Low quality. That really,
right.
it's making the good food affordable. Isn't that what the goal should be?
Yeah, that's part of it. In some places, it is affordable. At supermarkets, healthy foods are pretty cheap compared to a lot of the packaged foods. But a big part of it is laziness.
I think a lot of, but you mentioned Whole Foods. I think a lot of people think of it as a rich person's market.
It is.
You know,
it is. And it's a ripoff.
But it's getting that concept all the way down at all economic levels, that people have those same options. Isn't that?
That's right. But I think a big part is all of us need to take the time and devote the energy to cooking.
Yeah.
That most
cooking's fun.
It can be fun.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get burned out at some point, but it is fun.
It's become a time issue
in
a modern world.
That's right. But that's how you get the healthiest foods, and pretty economically also.
Somebody sent a question in about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that we used to. There are a lot of us who grew up on them, and now they're taboo because, you know, children shouldn't be eating them. What changed that made?
Why? Because of peanut allergies?
Is that it? Is that it?
Well, they're not allowed in some schools.
Right. Right.
I eat peanut butter and jelly on.
I eat it with whole wheat. I think that it's probably. I thought it was a brain food. But am I wrong?
What should we say?
Oh, you're the expert. Well, I read a statistic, and I don't know if it's accurate, but I read something like, is it 30% of the students in Montgomery County, the children in Montgomery County are obese? Is that an accurate figure?
Probably. Yeah,
how
probably
is that,
high school kids.
Yeah, how does that play out? Is that a number that's...
Yeah, it's typical. And adults, too. A third are obese and another third are just overweight.
And what did the numbers used to be, say, 50 years ago?
Oh, a third as many. So it was still a problem. But it's, for some reason, and nobody really knows...
Why?
Clearly, it's a bunch of reasons. And I think one reason is soda pop. If you look at soda pop consumption, soda pop is the one food that has been shown to promote weight gain.
But I was so surprised. I read something you said where you said a good option was to have a diet soda.
Well, diet sodas, but I'm talking about caloric sodas,
okay,
non-diet sodas.
But
diet sodas are, in terms of weight, probably
But
neutral.
wouldn't all of them be bad? I mean, isn't most soda just not necessarily something you should put in your body?
Diet soda is chemical
well, that's
water.
what I mean. It's
artificial sweeteners, artificial colors, artificial flavors. It's not good for you.
Right.
Water would be better.
Right. Well, yeah. But now we've got flavored waters. What do you think of those? They're just stuffing the sugar back in.
Isn't America great?
Well, no. I mean,
the creativity, the marketing that gets us to buy water.
I mean, it is. But the hard part for the consumer, and I think what overwhelms them, is in one ear they're hearing you, and they're kind of tuned into what you're hearing, and in the other ear they're hearing everything else, and it's finding that middle ground of what can I have? I mean, I have a friend who was talking about how, you know, he'd been eating this perfectly healthy diet, and, you know, had gone sort of maybe to what you would call your religion, and ended up with kidney stones.
It can happen, and we all have this terminal disease called life.
But then you talk to somebody else, and you know, they've got to go. It's finding that balance that's very And
Well,
I'm figuring out what the key is. Maybe it's exercise. I don't know.
well, exercise is extraordinarily valuable and can neutralize some of the stuff we put down our throats.
Mm-hmm.
But basic nutrition is really quite simple. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains,
Mm-hmm.
some low-fat dairy products, some fish,